Attention Austin guitar players and bass players. Are you in need of setup or repair on your axe? Well, I have the guy for you, gang. That's Jason Swedberg over at J. Scott Lutherie, and you can find him at J. Scott Lutherie on Instagram. Now, if you listen to the show, you know I've been talking about Jason for years. Why is that? Because I've been taking my guitars to Jason for over 20 years. Not only does he do the best job, but he has the best prices and the fastest service in town. Again, find him at J. Scott Lutherie on Instagram. Not only is he doing an amazing job repairing and setting up guitars, he is now building guitars. That's right. He built me an SG Junior, which I have, and it sounds amazing. It feels great. It's the very first SG Junior he ever built. I've got a J. Scott Lutherie SG Junior. You can go see him at J. Scott Lutherie on Instagram. Get a guitar built. Get your guitars fixed. Get them set up. It's time, man. They've been hanging on the wall all through COVID. Now it's time to get them out, get them fixed, and get out there and play. J. Scott Lutherie on Instagram. Let's get down. Attention musicians of all levels. It's not always easy picking out a song by ear. Sometimes you need a little help. Well, I have the app for you. Whether you're a professional musician or a beginner, Ultimate Guitar is an amazing app. For just $2.99, you get the chords and tabs on guitar, bass, or ukulele for over 1 million songs. They're all available at your fingertips. You also get tools like a tuner, metronome, chord library, lessons, videos, and more. You can find out any song you want. It also has like transpose button. It has auto scroll that you can change the speed to so you can play along with the song. A lot of the songs have the lyrics there so you can sing along with them. Ultimate Guitar is an amazing app. Just go to ultimateguitar.com or download the app to your phone today and start playing. Start playing any song you want. Ultimate Guitar, that's the place for you. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right. Hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys have all had a good week. It's been a great week. It really has. It's been a really great week. Been mixing a song. Hopefully it'll be finished today or tomorrow. I'm excited about that. Excited to be mixing music, right? It's always good to be doing that. Got to see Anastasia Hara play, who was on the show a couple weeks ago. Great seeing her play. She's a fantastic artist. Get out there and check her out, Anastasia Hara. Guys, I have a great big show for you today. A double header. Yeah, that's right. I have a musician, songwriter, stage actor, turned author, and podcaster, Matt Wilson. His brand new book, Hooks, Lessons on Performance, Business, and Life from a Working Musician, is available now on Amazon and Apple Books. And you can find his podcast on the Hook with Matt Wilson, wherever it is that you find podcasts. And he also has music out. He's the guy. He played the piano man in the Billy Joel musical, Moving Out, in their touring company. Great, just a great conversation. Really fascinating dude, interesting guy. He plays a lot of weddings with his wedding band, Matt Wilson Band. He also put out his own record called Nobody's Driving Home Tonight, which you will hear a live version whenever he gets up and plays. But before I talk to the great Matt Wilson, I talked to Omar Lozano and Alan Garcia from Trucha Soul Records. They're also a DJ duo called Trucha Soul, and they are playing tonight here in Austin at Cuatro Gato. That's tonight, Friday, July 30th at Cuatro Gato. Find them on Instagram and find them on Bandcamp. They'll also be playing tomorrow night in Houston. That's Saturday, July 31st at Wonky Power. And then Sunday, August 1st at Tropicana in McAllen. So they're doing a lot of stuff. You can find them on Instagram and stuff like that. I'll put a link to their Bandcamp page, which has links to everything else. And you can see all the great bands that they've signed. They put out records with Principe Q, and of course, Como Los Movies, and Cana, a band from Dallas. Cana! Their focus is on Latin music. They're a Latin cumbia vinyl label, research project, and live cumbia DJ experience. That's what they'll be doing on this tour. They'll be doing it tonight, along with Principe Q and Flores Verdes, right? Okay, so without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Omar Lozano and Alan Garcia from Trucha Soul Records. How are you guys doing, man? Like,
good.
like how how is it? I mean, we've all been like kind of like getting back to work in a way. Although I'm sure, like both of you guys DJ together, right?
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of that shit going on for a year and a half.
Nah, there really wasn't. It really just started to pick up, I guess, in maybe like April.
Yeah.
But even then, with like all the new announcements and stuff, it's like, you know, we have a tour planned, a little mini Texas tour this weekend, and it's like, you know, a little concerning.
It is, yeah. I have some shows like next week and the week after that are like public shows that I have no idea.
That's cool. And you, so you play with a couple bands, right?
Yeah. I'm in this band Skyrocket that plays a lot. Yeah,
that's awesome. So in my day job, I'm the director of music marketing for Visit Austin.
Oh, really?
So I've booked y'all a couple times like different corporate events.
Yeah, you know what else you've booked is Coco. Have you booked? Yeah, with guys from. Yeah, I did that show in LA in 2019 in the summer.
Yep.
Yeah. That was a real good time. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for always killing it, man.
Wait, were you the dude that had us in like Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That's great.
Yeah, for PCMA.
Awesome. Yeah. So what made you guys? How did you guys? First of all, how did you guys meet?
We met one summer here in Austin through a mutual friend who was from El Paso, which is how he knew Omar. But I just met him because I played the accordion, and we met at a party, and we just became instant friends because he was looking for someone to jam cumbia with. So it was one of those nights a few summers ago that we were just jamming in his backyard. Awesome. Omar came over. He threw down on the Guiro. Yeah. You know, in the little circle outside. I know we just hit it off and then started hanging out more, going to shows. And yeah, we just started bonding over just our shared tastes, really. But mostly centered around cumbia and just, right, being from Texas but just being obsessed with like music, you know, in Mexico and Colombia, record digging. Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of these guys, a lot of dudes. Like, it seems like there's a cumbia like scene here.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially on the live band tip. You know, there's some great bands, some of our favorites like Superfonicos or Money Chicha or even a lot of the bigger bands like Grupo Fantasma who like incorporate those styles. But definitely, you know, Kiko Balamizad, like there's just like a lot of different live outlets for it, you know, and definitely some electronic DJ, you know, DJ focused projects that sort of touch on it, like Peligrosa. But I
don't think I've ever heard Peligrosa. I've heard their name, but I've not heard them.
Yeah. They're like global bass Latin music, so they touch on cumbia, but they play reggaeton and, you know, Latin trap and definitely like a bit more of Latin club stuff. Where our stuff kind of falls a little bit more in between. It's more of a I guess like a very cumbia specific throwback to kind of Mexico City street style and vinyl retro sound system culture.
Yeah. So was Como Las Movies the first artist on your label?
Yeah. So I had met Nelson a few years back through you know, through different projects and through mutual friends. And you know, one friend that I had from McAllen who introduced me to him. He's from the Valley as well. So yeah, it was really this idea of that, you know, me and Alon were sort of getting this project in mind together, and I had approached him to start a label, but not knowing really where to start or like how even to, you know, press vinyl, or we were just sort of in this, you know, new sort of crossroads of how to start. And shortly after that conversation that we had, I went to go see them. I went to go see Como Las Movies at Spider House Ballroom, and they played La Inconforme, which is a cover of this like 2000s era like electro cumbia, like just cult favorite. And I'd never really heard anybody touch on that type of stuff here in that way. And but seeing it live and their interpretation of it, like I approached them pretty much shortly after that, and we just talked about it for a couple months, and then locked down some studio time and the B-side, and always focused on tracks that would appeal to DJs, especially with the 45 format.
Yeah, tell me about that. Tell me what's the deal with the 45s?
Yeah, well, like 45s, I think if you go to, it just depends on the kind of collector culture that you are a part of. If you dig vinyl, but to me, 45s are like the most used by DJs, and and they're they're probably the most present format in terms of like that you have to be present when you listen to them, because there's only 4 minutes on each side. Right. So you have to be in front of it, watching it. So it's a very active type of thing, So flipping it's very geared towards DJs and people who are lugging around, records around the world, and definitely traditionally in sort of Mexican sound system culture and and dub culture, the 45 is sort of revered as the preferred template for these types of expression.
I didn't realize that. I mean, there's not so many guys spinning records like there once were, right?
Well, I think now more than ever.
Oh, really?
But, yeah, I think it's definitely been like. I think that's a lot of our audience, and a lot of the people buying our records and helping us sell out are DJs looking for 45s. We're still looking into the future of maybe pressing 12 inches, which are also DJ friendly format, but mostly for dance DJs. But there's definitely a lot of folks who have great taste and who have great record collections and are just out playing now, Yeah. And I think that's made for a really interesting, kind of like local scene in terms of just record digging and record store support, and those shops being able to thrive and provide better stuff.
Yeah. Where do you go digging for the records? Like, what are your...
Yeah. I mean, Breakaway is one of my favorites. What are some of your favorites?
Well, early on, when I approached Omar just with these ideas for the label, for having our Sonidero group, I was telling him about Mexico City, where my family's from, where every time I would visit them on trips, they would tell me, oh, if you like vinyl, go to this street or go to this mercado. And
oh, yeah.
Telling him about just, man, these gems that these old heads, they just set up booths on the sidewalks in certain mercados, and just this endless supply of cumbia vinyl that really isn't present in Austin shops. It's very rarely that you find it.
Well, I don't even see 45s at any of the places where I go. Maybe at Antone's Records they have 45s, but they don't have cumbia 45s, like old stuff that would blow my mind.
Not too much. A lot of Tecano stuff. So like, which is also important to the stuff that we are, looking to put out and release and feature. But definitely, they're always like under the tables and in boxes, or kind of out of plain view, because it's not, not necessarily like the most dug for thing, unless like collectors are going, or serious diggers or DJs are looking for that type of stuff. But this weekend we also went to Turntable Records over off of South First. It's my first time going. Alan can probably tell you a little bit more about it.
Yeah, he's an old school Austinite from the South Side. He just has so much collected material from, the golden age of Tejano, right? When everything was just big. So the place is littered with cassettes from back in the day, promo posters, just my side of it as someone who grew up in Austin too, that's interested in East Side culture and just all the recording labels, you know, the independent Tejano labels that used to exist back then. That place is just a treasure because he still has all those local recordings and he still knows the musicians, you know. These are some artists that don't even have a Discogs page, or you rarely find them on YouTube, you know,
right.
with people sharing the music. And this guy went to church with them and could just share stories. So those shops in Austin are amazing to dig at, just because, you know, it's a little messy, right? It's just decades worth of material that still needs to be sorted through.
Right, right.
But yeah, that's the love of it, just to dig.
Yeah. Yeah, I read this Questlove book like 6 months ago, and I can't remember which one it is. It's basically about how, basically like his memoir told along with the music that he was listening to. But when he got into the bin digging, there was like a whole scene, you know what I mean? Just all these guys. You go to San Antonio and do that? I bet that's a pretty good place.
Yeah, San Antonio is great, especially for Tejano, and you're more likely to find like, you know, cumbia and stuff like that. The thing is that a lot of those types of records, like people have to physically bring over, you know, so like if you had like an immigrant family, like they were making select choices on what to bring
right
to you know, but also San Antonio is like, you know, one of the great, you know, record label headquarters historically, for Tejano music, for Chicano soul music. You know, Teardrop Records is one of the big ones with Sonny and the Sunliners, who was stuff that my parents grew up with, and that, you know, right. I you know, in turn grew up with. But you know, a lot of that soul, Chicano soul, really permeated through you know, through San Antonio to the rest of the world, and is now like they're revered, especially like for like a lot of like new label projects doing re-releases of those types of sounds, and even new labels that are, you know, finding artists doing that, emulating that style in new ways. So I think you know, Texas and San Antonio, and you know, specifically Central Texas and the Valley have really influenced, have been our output of vinyl based music.
Right.
Historically, yeah.
Huh. And so you guys have a couple of releases coming out this summer from is it Príncipe Q? Is that how you say? Okay, from Corpus, Texas, and then Ghana, which like white hair?
Ghana, yeah, Ghana's like kind of white hair. But yeah, the Príncipe Q one is already out. We've been super excited to be pushing that one. His story is really interesting. He's kind of carrying the torch for cumbia in Texas. He's a big part of the Quintanilla family.
Oh yeah.
So you know, his dad is A.B. Quintanilla from Cumbia Kings.
Oh wow.
And his aunt is Selena. So he's really like doing this really amazing new kind of like darker cumbia trap.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know, meets Houston, like slow, chopped and slopped.
Oh, really? Is that the first thing on his Bandcamp? Is that the latest release?
It would be on our Bandcamp.
Yeah, it was on your Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be the Flores Verdes, which means green flowers.
Right.
And so that is the latest release that we dropped, I believe, in May. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of really cool stuff with him, and this coming weekend we're actually doing a little mini Texas tour.
I saw that.
We'll be hitting they'll be doing Corpus, and then hitting Austin, and then Houston, and then McAllen. So it'll just be a good time to
nice. Real quick, what are the dates on those? Because you know what, I can put this out as a shorter one in the intro of a thing on Friday. Does that work for you guys?
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. That'd be really awesome.
All right.
So the first one is well, it's starting with like a live stream on the 29th, and then on Friday will be the Austin date, which would be relevant, especially for our conversation. And then Houston.
Where is Friday?
31st. Yeah, this coming.
Where?
What's that? At Cuatro Gato.
What?
At Cuatro Gato.
Okay.
Cuarto. Am I spelling that right? Cuatro.
I'll go look at the thing. I saw a thing for it on Instagram, and I'll go and I'll get it all right.
All right, cool.
I'm not going to put
you.
the listeners with me trying to fucking figure out what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so then Houston on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at Wonky Power, and then Sunday in McAllen. So we have to show some love to the Valley.
Of course. And you're from El Paso.
Yeah, I'm from El Paso, Texas.
Yeah.
So I've been here for about 8 years.
Okay, what brought you here? Is it music or school or something?
Yeah, mostly music. I think like in my regular day hustle, it's a lot of music, culture, like brand events.
Yeah.
So I'm an event producer and coordinator by like Day Trade, and I've always sort of just worked in in my current role with Visit Austin. It's really like featuring finding ways to talk about Austin music. Internationally to visitors and to tourists and to convention groups, and build content and just tell the story. So, in a weird way, I think this is like an extension of that, but maybe more the label's a more subcultural approach to it.
And Alan, you grew up here?
Grew up in Austin, yeah.
Yeah.
And my family there, almost all from DF, from Mexico City. So, what Omar was talking about earlier, immigrant families bringing over their music. I mean, they brought over just cassettes, tons of cumbia cassettes. I grew up, listening to the like Southern hip hop, the crunk era as well. Was always just in love with that, Atlanta crunk music. But there was always my parents' music, that I would like occasionally rediscover in waves when I'd go through their collections. But it was always interesting, growing up in Austin with their cumbia influence because they're from the capital, but they didn't really fit into the Tejano norteño scene that was more popular here because of more northern Mexicanos. On weekends, we worked at the flea market, the one that's off Highway 290.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, every weekend, they have groups that come and perform. So it's just live dances with norteño. Every merchant, right? Every booth has a sound system set up, just blasting, their mixes, their favorite music. So even though they didn't play it at home, even though they weren't really getting into that style, it just stayed with me, So I grew up appreciating norteño and obviously Selena, and then also led me to pick up the accordion later in life too, because I feel like I had it in my blood, growing up with those sounds.
Yeah.
It's still a part of me, definitely.
Yeah. What's the Texas Folk Alliance? No, that's different. Man, my friend, do you guys know Sarah Rucker? She does those. She puts together those big accordion, like Texas. Everyone comes and accordions out. Right. Yeah. They just had one, I think, like a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's
somewhere.
awesome.
Yeah. Hey, Alang, have you ever seen the movie Ishtar?
I had a friend that was going to the Alamo Draft House to watch it, but I didn't go because I've heard it's notoriously bad. It's like a cultish.
It is, but the first 15 minutes are the greatest movie you've ever seen in your life as a musician. It's like two struggling middle-aged songwriters writing songs, and they have a song called Dangerous Business, and it goes like this. Telling the truth can be dangerous business. Honest and popular don't go hand in hand. If you admit that you can play the accordion, no one will let you in their rock and roll band. It's, to me,
It's true.
I never forgot
true.
that. Like, I memorized it the first time I ever saw that movie. Anyway, well, dude, what you're doing is really amazing, man. What a great, you guys, when you DJ together, you go under Trucha Soul, right? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. And people can find you guys on Instagram and, of course, Trucha Soul at bandcamp.com. There's some links there. And get out and see the tour. Austin, Houston, McAllen. What's the... That's going to be I don't know if I've ever even been to McAllen, actually.
It's interesting because like having had like the border, like growing up in El Paso, like, and then just checking out all the different other border cities.
Right.
They all have like, they're all kind of like bizarro versions of each other. Like they all just have like these little quirks and like kinks and like, you know, the people are like slightly different. It's like you're in like alternate dimensions of border, you know, towns, and they all have like slightly different food like options. And, like,
Right.
You know, it's definitely unique and like, you know, but topography slightly different, but it kind of like instinctually feels the same in each of these. So McAllen is really cool. It's really, really small, like in terms of like city center stuff, but culturally rich and like super interesting, especially the interchange between what is it? Is it Reynosa?
It's turned out a shitload of like it's like Adrian Casala's from there, right? I remember like a couple.
He's from Laredo.
He's from Laredo. Okay, but a couple of the Grupo guys, I had them on the show, and I remember there was some McAllen stuff going on.
Yeah, and even the next band originally is from McAllen, Cana.
Oh yeah.
Even though they're based in Dallas now, they were I think they grew up in the valley. So,
well, man, I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and it's great talking to you. And I can't wait to see what else you guys do. Do you plan on putting out some more, like signing more bands or however it is partnerships you get into?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of great like kind of event partnerships coming up this year. Some cool content stuff and definitely some releases, probably closer to the spring.
Oh yeah.
With some new stuff, but definitely some great, potential Austin acts, definitely like really want to like cover a lot of good Texas cities. And then, we're going to start up conversations with a lot of, these like great older labels, to see how we can, have access further to their archives, to tell that story better, to be able to re-release records in the future that were maybe didn't have as much shine as they should have got. All
right. Well, dude, it was great talking to you and great meeting you. Let's stay in touch, man. And thanks a lot for booking those gigs, Omar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Thanks for having us.
You guys take care. Thank you so much for doing the show. And thank you for, you guys are doing really great shit out there.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Good talking to you.
You too,
Take care.
That's Omar Lozano and Alan Garcia from Trucha Soul Records. Find them at truchasoulrecords.bandcamp.com and check them out tonight at Cuatro Gato in Austin. That's Friday, July 30th at Cuatro Gato in Austin. They'll be playing along with Príncipe Q and Flores Verdes. And tomorrow night they'll be at Wonky Power in Houston. Tomorrow night, Saturday, July 31st. And Sunday, August 1st, they will be in McAllen at Tropicana. Go to truchasoulrecords.bandcamp.com for all of your needs. They got some great bands on there, and they're really focused on doing this great music. Anyway, great talking to those guys. All right, let's talk to Matt Wilson, who's a musician, a stage actor, a songwriter, and now he's an author and a podcaster. His book, Hooks, Lessons on Performance, Business and Life from a Working Musician, is available on Amazon and Apple Books, and his brand new podcast called On the Hook with Matt Wilson is available wherever it is you stream podcasts or download podcasts. I don't know if people even download podcasts anymore. Anyway, we have a great conversation about his journey as an artist, becoming a songwriter, becoming a musician, getting a gig, being the piano man in the Billy Joel musical Moving Out. It's a Tony Award winning musical. He was in the touring company, so he played all over the country, singing every night, doing this stuff. It's a great conversation. He's done the piano dual bar thing, where the dueling pianos thing. And he still does some of that, but he also has a band called the Matt Wilson Band. You can find him at mattwilsonband.com. He also has a Patreon. He's got a lot of stuff going on. He splits his time between Austin and Jacksonville, and he was in Jacksonville when we had this conversation. So, without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with this fascinating dude and very talented dude, Matt Wilson. Let's get down. Yeah, man. Where are you, in Tallahassee or Jacksonville? Jacksonville.
St. Augustine, actually.
Oh, yeah.
But my wife works in Jacksonville, and of course, Jacksonville is the big city.
Yeah.
You know, so that we moved here for her to work in Jacksonville, but you know, we got kids, and so we're researching the schools in the area, and this is where we chose, out here near St. Johns County, St. Augustine.
Nice.
Yeah. Have you spent some time out here?
I've been through there. I was born in Miami, and I have people there.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I lived there for a bit when I was in high school. Like, I actually I went to Miami Beach Senior High School.
Yeah.
Miami, yeah.
Well, if you have people here in Jacksonville, let me know. I'm still trying to find my way around the scene here, you know.
So the Matt Wilson Band, like, you guys are based out of Austin, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So my business is in Austin. I still book rooms in Austin. I graduated from University of Texas in 96, and Austin has been my home on and off. You know, I did a stint in Florida, and then I did the tour, and then, but I would back and forth to Austin in between. And we were in Austin for about 15 years after I got home from the tour, the Broadway tour.
Yeah.
And, but my wife, being in the hotel business, she was out at Lakeway Resort and Spa, and was agreed to take on a general manager training track. Right. And so the idea was, we're going to train you, but when the training's over, we're going to ask you to move. We were like, let's just do it. Let's see what happens. And so about 3 years ago now, they came to us and said, we want you to move to New Orleans. And man, Johnny, it was a tough call because, you know, I'd built my business since college. I went to University of Texas, moved there in 92, and just been doing my thing. And, but look, you get a promotion in a worldwide company, you follow that if you're a musician, and you do your best. Right. So I was still able to travel back to Texas. I'd come home a couple times a month. And then last August, so we lived in New Orleans for 2 years, and that was great. And then last August, they called and said, we want you to move to Jacksonville and have your own hotel there. They moved her general manager. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, well, dude, I read a lot of your book, Hooks, Lessons on Performance, Business, and Life from a Working Musician. Fantastic. Yeah. A lot of insight. There's a lot about confidence in there that I connected with.
Wonderful.
You know, there's as I've gotten through. So I'm 52, and I've been playing since I was a kid. You know, as well, and there's things that you don't realize, like, you know, what it does to somebody psychologically to be yelled at on stage. You know what I mean? Things like that. But I'm very cognizant of confidence and how confidence can pull you through any kind of performance, be it some speech for your company, or, you know, a podcast, or a public speaking engagement, or as a musician, as an artist. Right. You know.
And did you agree with the part? I don't know if you, I mean, I know, look, ask anybody to read a whole book. That's a tall order. I've learned that along this process, but the part there where I know as a performer, I will I'll use my confidence. I say in the book, I believe my best thing is the ability to engage a crowd, to to move a crowd, to talk to a crowd, to entertain a crowd.
Yeah.
Tagging behind, sometimes way far behind, sometimes right behind, is my ability to play and sing.
Yeah.
I do it at a professional level, but I know there are people out there that can just blow me out of the water when it comes to that. So if I hang my hat of confidence on my ability to just play and sing, then I may get bowled over on stage. Yeah. But I draw on my confidence to be able to engage a crowd and connect with the crowd, and then bring that into the other elements of my show. And that's what's given me the ability to have a sustained career.
Right. Well, there's a thing that the overall arching thing about it is that there's a lot about, you're very open about sort of the way things were going for you when you did moving out, which we'll get to and talk about in a minute, as far as like your singing and things like this, like, you know, and getting kind of taken aside and like very honest about that. And that's a difficult sort of thing. But you know what? You actually cover that in a great, God, what was there's a chapter in your book too about it, kind of about the way you perceive yourself. And I work with the Austin Music Foundation. I don't know if you
talking about the anxiety part?
No, I'm talking about how, like, when you view yourself, to be able to look at yourself objectively.
Yeah, I'd have to dig in. Man, this is huge. I was trying to prepare a little bit before. I don't know, man. Who wrote this thing? Well, it's crazy.
Look, man, overall, the point of this podcast is to get to know you, and hopefully that people will connect and want to hear more from you with your podcast, which is called On the Hook with Matt Wilson. You put out 3 episodes so far?
Yeah. You know, I didn't realize, I guess I should have paid attention, but you release a book and now you're on social media every day, and now you're coming up with different videos. And then so along the way, I thought one thing that very seriously that I wanted to do with this book is start a conversation about confidence, about performance, about focus, about performance anxiety, about business things that I've learned. So start a conversation. I really thought that. And then I thought, well, I know all these cool people and these people that can bring a different perspective. So why don't I kind of help get the conversation started by myself? And the idea started for the podcast was just simply another video or something to show. Right. And the idea was send the book to Johnny. Johnny, you pick one hook and we're going to talk about it. Right. And it's going to be a 5-minute deal and we're going to post a video. Well, the first episode I did of the podcast, it lasted an hour. Yeah. I couldn't, and I tried to edit it and I couldn't. This is all good stuff. People were really talking. And then the next one lasted an hour. And so I thought, you know what? This is good. Let's try it. So I'm on episode tomorrow. I'll release episode 4. So I'm catching up to you, man. Here we go. Yeah. Well, man, it seems like, and just from a person that also does a podcast as well, I started mine, like, it'll be 10 years ago on August 10th. And to put one out now, it's difficult to find. There was a hole. There was a space for me when I came up with this show. Right. It wasn't crazy. Now, literally, like 83% of my friends have this same kind of show going on. But you seem to have found a real specific, and there was a guy early on, I can't remember who it was, but somebody who did really well in podcasting talked to me early on and talked about the specificity of a podcast, and like that's what people will connect with. And even though yours does cover people from different walks of life, in essence, you are covering the specifics of confidence, ability, focus, like all of the themes from your book, which I think is really great. Well, thank you. We'll talk about the moving out thing, but along the way, when we first started there, a musical director could sense that I was struggling with some things. And he asked me to read a book called, I can't even remember the name now. But it was The Inner Game of Tennis is what it was called. And in essence, the book was an analogy, a metaphor for confidence and focus and working through these things using the game of tennis as the vehicle, right? And so part of that was the reason for hooks. And what I'm doing here is using the music business and my time on stage maybe to relate to people in all walks of life that maybe need a little boost, right?
I will say you do use a lot of sports analogies for a music guy. Yeah. You can tell.
I'm a sports fan.
Yeah.
Grew up in Dallas, and I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, baby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you were born in Dallas?
Born in Dallas. Grew up in Dallas, Bryan Adams High School.
What'd your parents do?
Well, okay. My dad is he's a minister. He was a pastor of the church that I grew up in. He was a missionary before that. He's also a businessman. He has, he owns property, and he's a landlord in real estate. And he had a car business for all my life, pretty much, where he would buy cars and repair them and sell them. And now he's a true entrepreneur. He works in a lot of things.
He's a Renaissance man. Yeah.
Yeah. And my mother is a speech therapist, and she has been working in the Dallas Independent School District for my whole life also. And so we were in Dallas doing our thing, and then I had a chance to go to University of Texas, and that's what I did.
But where did you find music? Like, when did that become a thing?
My family's musical. My mother sings. Her mother plays piano, was the choir leader and the organist at her church. My dad plays the piano and sings. He would, when he was a missionary, he would travel with his accordion and play the piano, and that was part of his bit. I learned piano from his sister, Mary. So my Aunt Mary taught me piano. My dad insisted that we learn an instrument, and piano was the one. So we'd drive over to Aunt Mary's house every Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever it was, and everybody would get piano lessons. And so it was just part of what, you're gonna go to school, you're gonna eat lunch, and you're gonna learn an instrument. I mean, whatever order we put things in, right? And
did you connect? So did you connect with it right away? Like,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, not the instrument in a detailed sense, but I connected with music. I would sleep with a jam box by my ear and listen to Jerry Lewis and Michael Jackson and whatever. Right? Just loved it.
Yeah. Growing up with that, with the church, what religion was that?
Christian. It was non-denominational, pretty much.
So pretty relaxed, not a lot of guilt or anything, or
snake
handling or speaking in tongues.
Well, everybody has their traditions that you navigate through. But I tell you, we boogied in church. I mean, we played some good old gospel rock and roll. Jesus on the main line. Come on now. I mean, it was backbeat. Better have a drum. Better have a bass. Get going.
Well, I saw that our mutual friend, the Reverend Merrill Wade.
Yes.
Gave a quote for your book on your website.
He did, and I'm so grateful. Yeah, he's going to be on my podcast in a few weeks.
Oh, he's a good guy to have on there, man. What's he going to be covering?
We don't know yet. We just talk. You set these things up and then give him time. The idea, I'm here on yours, but on the hooks again. I send it to the folks, the book, and let them look over it, and then kind of bring what they want to talk about. So I'm going to wait and see what he says. But he's been counseling me since I've released the book on just a few thoughts, a few things, and he's given me some feedback. And so I met him years ago in Austin, and he's one of my pastors, and I love him.
Yeah.
He's a good friend.
He's a good guy, real good guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry. I was just about to ask another question, and I was like, stay on topic. Okay. So you're learning piano. When did you get sort of the bug? Like, when did you connect? Like, oh, this is who I'm going to be. This piano guy.
Okay. Well, the bug to be around the piano is at church camp, because my older cousin, Scott, who is now a world famous speaker and preacher and writer and all this stuff. But Scott would play the piano, and all the girls at camp would come stand around him. And I'm like, well, come on now, let's do that. Right. So I found it as a way to get some attention, but I wasn't any good. I mean, I could bang around on it. Right. But I also, I really did love Jerry Lee Lewis. I really did love Billy Joel. I mean, I really did. I saw Billy Joel in concert in high school, and I came home and my mom said that I was just glowing. And I don't know if I actually said that's what I want to do, but that's how I felt. But I never slowed down enough as a young man to make my skill catch up with my desires. Right.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been doing that my whole life, so.
What was that Billy Joel show? What tour was that?
Stormfront. It was in Dallas. He came to Reunion Arena.
What was that? Stormfront. What was that? Was that the
early 90s, 89?
We didn't start the fire and stuff?
Yeah, we didn't start the fire. Yeah.
I was deep into the Billy Joel, but like in my, like from, from the Stranger, 52nd Street, and then Glass Houses. Yeah. And then, Uptown Girl came out, and I was like, I was out of the game.
You didn't have it.
I didn't. I didn't go with him on that trip. It seemed like he went from like this really cool guy. Like, I don't know if you ever saw this, but there was like a concert. I think it might have been like Glass Houses, or it was 52nd Street, but there was like an HBO like concert on there.
Live from Long Island. It's a very classic thing.
Right. So doesn't he at the end of that show, the last thing he says, wearing a leather jacket, is he goes like, "Don't let anyone give you any shit," and he walks off stage.
Yeah.
I feel like Uptown Girl is a different guy, than that guy.
And I don't want to not talking for Billy. I know that I had the moving out thing, whatever, but it was a tribute album. Tribute to the acts and the bands that he listened to, the doo-wops, doo-wop acts and things like that. Frankie Valli, and the legend is he was so inspired by Christy Brinkley that he reverted back to his. Look, this isn't exact fact, but this is what I think I know, that he reverted back to his teenage days and was in love, and the stars and the moon were falling from the sky. So let's write these songs of the songs that inspired me. So yeah. But I'm with you. That Live from Long Island concert is legendary, and I remember watching that till almost ruined the VCR tape.
Yeah,
I think I still have that VCR tape somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, so when you came to college here, what were you going to college for?
Well, I was studying. I chose psychology, whatever, I don't know, and then I moved over to public relations, and this was at University of Texas before there was an actual public relations degree. I got a degree in journalism, which makes sense. I mean, that's what PR is ultimately, is handling the media, but a BA in journalism with kind of the idea that it's public relations. And, but all the while still kind of banging around the piano. And then somewhere junior year, I maybe found a gig down at, senior year, I found a gig down at Kenny Luna's Ivory Cat Tavern on 6th Street, which I don't know if you remember that back in the day.
I don't.
Corner of 6th and San Jacinto. And I started to play there. Again, I wasn't really that good, but I just had a stage presence. I mean, look, if you're an entertainer, you should know what you're good at and what you're not at. So, so I could do that, right, and then have enough music to back it up.
So you knew a shitload of songs at that point.
Not that many, but I knew enough to have the gig, right? And and in those settings, you know them well enough just to make the people feel like that they heard them, right? The skeletal thing, yeah. And some of them don't even want you to hear the whole thing; they just want to get a verse, chorus out, and that's still the truth. I mean, that's still the same for these all request piano bar shows. So, I had the ability to do that. Yeah, and from playing there is where the folks that own the Disney the club in Disney is where they saw me, and that's where they came in and said, "We want you to come work for us."
So tell me about that. Like that was the fascinating part where you're like, oh, he was working there. What's going on with that? So they come and they recruit you for, what were they out doing, some kind of conference or some shit here, and they went in there and saw you?
Well, okay, so here we go. I don't even know what's there now, but okay, Antone's used to be, well, okay, it used probably maybe in somewhere before that, but remember off of Guadalupe, Antone's, remember that Antone's over there?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay, so after that, they moved to 4th Street,
right?
The warehouse district,
right?
Well, the building, the Antone's, the way it looked and the design and a lot of that stage and all that was built by Jelly Rolls, because Jelly Rolls actually was ahead of the curve. They came in and put their piano bar in that location, the 4th Street Antone's building, before the warehouse district really started to catch on.
Oh, wow.
And so they were there, and they had an ad in the Chronicle. We're looking for piano players. And this is my last semester, senior year in college. So I go audition. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And they wanted me to sign a contract. Well, my 19-year-old self, I'm not signing a contract. I'm too young to contract myself to anybody. I'm not going to do that. So I mean, that sounds dumb, but that was my idea. I'm not going to sign a contract. I'll come play. But anyway, whatever my thought was there. So I kind of shuffled my feet, and I didn't jump in, right? And then they come about 3 or 4 months later. They call me up and said, "Now we're opening up in Disney World. Do you want to come out there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, okay." And so I had a conversation with my dad about the contract again, and he's just like, "Look, Matt, go. If you don't like it, come home. What are they going to do, right? I mean, we'll work it out. Don't be worried about a contract." So, and then I did that, and then going back to kind of the Austin tie-in, a few years later, the management of Jelly Rolls kind of took over the management of that Antone's location for a while. Now, I don't know much more than that. I mean, obviously, they didn't stay there, and the whole thing isn't the same anymore, but
right.
There's a little Austin history there with Jelly Rolls.
Yeah.
But Jelly Rolls closed in Austin. I was in, but then I was in Disney World for 2.5 years.
Was it in the Magic Kingdom?
No, it was at Disney's Boardwalk.
Okay.
Which is, the Disney has all these different resort areas. Right. So you have Disney World, and then you have the parks, and then so you have the different parks, and then you also have different resort things, Polynesian Hotel, or this, I can't remember all of them. But anyway, so there's Disney's Boardwalk, and it looks like a boardwalk, and you walk on it. There's shops and restaurants and such, and then there's the venue. There's Jelly Rolls there.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it was the most fantastic gig anybody could have right out of college playing music.
So what was the gig like? How long was it?
Dueling pianos. And these were some of the best dueling piano players at the time in the world. So I walked in, and I was terrible, but I was, as I say in the book, it was like getting my master's degree in rock and roll piano and entertainment, because these cats were just experienced, and they'd played forever and ever, and they knew how to entertain people. They knew how to play the piano. They knew how to sing. And so I was the weak link, but I still was good enough to be on stage with them. And I was partnered, for those that don't know, I'm sure everybody knows, but dueling pianos, 2 pianos on stage, and folks just request songs. And then you play the songs and get the people to sing along and have a good time. And because it was Disney World, we were packed every night. I mean, packed, 300-400 people, whatever, fit in the room, packed, and people excited to be there, wanted to be there. They're on vacation, they're on convention. And, here I am on the other side of the stage doing the best I can to keep up, but learning every second of every show on how to be a world-class entertainer.
How long was the gig?
Per night or per night? Like total?
Per night.
Each performer had 3 hours stage time. So it was a 6-hour gig. 3, take an hour off, or play an hour, take an hour off, play an hour, take an hour off, play an hour.
All right.
I think that's how it worked out.
And what, people would just yell songs out at you?
Well, they write it down and bring it up.
Okay.
Yeah. On a piece of paper or a little napkin.
And
right?
that's like before an iPad or anything like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No iPad. You really had to know your songs. It's a big conversation these days about folks that still do this piano bar stuff. Do you use an iPad or do you not? I say use it. There's no way that I'm going to learn all these songs anymore, but there are people. Well, the songs keep going. Yeah, the songs keep going, right? I mean, it's that old McConaughey thing, right? I get older, the songs, whatever that that whole thing. Yeah. So the songs keep coming, and I can't keep up. But I still do a lot of these gigs, and the iPad is cool to have because if you've heard the song and you have an idea of how it goes, you just don't remember the words. Maybe you need a little help with the chord here and there. It's excellent, but we didn't have that back then. So,
how much has changed, like from what people requested back then to now? Is it still like a lot of Elton John and Billy Joel and
absolutely
Lionel Richie? Absolutely.
Yeah, I book a lot of these rooms, and I'm training a lot of these guys, and I tell them the base of your material is going to be the same stuff that it's always been in most rooms. Billy Joel, Elton John, American Pie, Great Balls of Fire, Sweet Caroline, Brown Eyed Girl. Those things will always be there. It's traditional to sing those in these venues, right?
Yeah.
But you have to know your other stuff. You have to be able to play the Killers. You have to be able to play Johnny Gowdy. You better know it, right?
You better know some of my stuff. I'm in this band Skyrocket.
Yes.
And so I went, when I was on your website creeping around on you, I went through your song list and everything. You guys cover a lot of shit, man. You do a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, we kind of have to. Sometimes we forget, this songs are in the rotation and they're out of the rotation, right? Yeah. Like with Skyrocket. I mean, I would think that kind of what y'all probably know a lot of songs too.
Yeah.
That song list keeps growing, and sometimes we'll be hired for a gig and the client will come along and say, "Hey, can you play that?" And I'm looking at it and go, "Well, we can learn it for you." And then I look at my song and go, "Oh yeah, we used to play that. We better brush up on that."
Yeah. Oh, yeah, especially after this year and a half off. We did this thing where we were doing these live streams and just doing learning a whole new set every month.
Oh, wow.
And just doing that and seeing what sticks, just going through some stuff. We had the time. And so now coming back to the gig, like, they got to send out the set list like a week in advance because even though it's shit we've played for years, there's stuff that we haven't played in years.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Or even if you played it, it was regular rotation. Nobody has regular rotation now. We've been off for a year.
Yeah. Are you guys getting back to work? You guys,
a little bit. I'm very grateful for where I am and what I'm doing, and I'm excited about all the new things that I have going. And I welcome all the challenges. And running a band from far away is a challenge, and a challenge in the sense that I can't be local. We got a call from one venue a while back there in Austin. Hey, can you do Tuesdays? Well, no.
Yeah, no.
I can't.
Right. Yeah.
But I love my band. I love the players. They're committed when I call, and we're still. We will answer the phone, and we will gladly show up on your stage and give you everything we got. And we're still able to do that. Fortunate.
Right. Let's go back to Disney. So you're there. You're playing at the Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
How long did you do that?
About 2.5 years, maybe 3.
Wow.
Seems like every 3 years I make a move. Yeah.
Was it 5 days a week or 7 or what?
They were open 7 a week, and you would get 1 or 2 days off a week. Sometimes not, but
wow.
Usually you'd have about 2 days off.
How was the money? Was it fantastic?
I mean, it was great. You got a salary and then tips, right? And you split the tips 4 ways with the players. There was 4 of them, but for a kid just right out of college,
that's great, man.
rolling. Yeah, doing my thing. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you do that for 2.5 years. Then what did you do? You moved back to Texas?
I was going to move to Atlanta. I knew that I wanted to do something else, and so and I was making a record then. I forgot what it was. I think my second record. And I just knew that I wanted to branch out, and so I was on my way to move to Atlanta, and then somehow I got a call again, or I called one or the other, and found myself another opportunity at Kenny Luna's Ivory Cat Tavern again, there on 6th Street. And man, that's another benchmark time in my life, because I came home and there I am on 6th Street, and I'm no longer dueling. This is piano drums. This is a little more rock and roll, because, you know, you add drums to anything and now you're rock and roll, right? And so now it's piano drums. We're still doing the same kind of show, but we're taking requests, and just meeting a lot of people in the scene in Austin, putting a band together. My gig at Ivory Cat, playing those piano bar shows 4, 5, 6 nights a week, whatever it may be, allowed me to have enough money to fund an original band. And so we were playing at the Saxon Pub, and we were, you know, getting out there.
Did we ever meet or anything during that time?
You know, I would think that we probably have crossed paths, but man, it's just so long, right?
Yeah.
And you know,
yeah.
I mean, I would think that you would remember me. No, I'm just kidding.
No. I just you never know. There's people,
right?
know.
No, you don't. I mean, I would almost guarantee.
We were at dinner at this person's house one time in 1997 or something.
Yeah, running around the same. I know we were running around the same circles in the same room, but to the point though. But I'm never. I don't know what you've done in the kind of cover music scene other than Skyrocket.
That's all.
But I was piano bar was my main thing that at that point, and I always danced around. I've always written music. I've always put out records. Always put out videos, and I've always tried. But as I say in the book, I've never given my original music the full attention that it would need to make its way.
Why is that?
And so, wow. Maybe not enough patience, maybe not enough confidence in it.
Yeah.
Maybe I know later in my career, it's because the cover band was doing the paying the bills.
Right,
I mean, that's
a tough one, man.
Yeah. I mean, I always believe that if you're going to be a working musician, if you're going to be a musician, work in music, right? Do it. And so people were paying me to play piano bar. People were paying me to do my cover band. And then nobody was really paying me for my original music, but the only way I was ever going to get there was to do the long road.
Right.
And I joke now that if I would have given my original music the amount of attention and detail and effort that I've been given this book and this path that I'm taking now, maybe I would have given it a chance.
Yeah.
And there's still a chance. You know what? I have a vision. Those songs aren't dead. They're living, baby. They're going to have a spot somewhere.
Yeah. I went through them, like ones you had and like lyric videos and songs. They're good, man. They're really good.
Well, thank you.
Man.
Thank you. I was listening to your stuff too. It's really, really good.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
All right. So how did you get the moving out thing?
Okay. Well, Billy Joel's playing again in Dallas. This was in early 2000s, or late 90s, early 2000s, kind of right when I moved back to Austin. So 1999, 2000, something like that. And my mother's a Billy Joel fan, and my sister's a Billy Joel fan. So we're all going. We're going to Billy Joel, right? And we got the best seats that we could get. And so there we are, Reunion Arena again, watching Billy Joel. And I found Billy had this thing, always does this thing where when he plays somewhere in the middle of the show, he'll let the first 5 to 10 rows get up out of their seat and come up and stand up by the stage. Like get on the stage. That way he feels like he's playing a rock show now. You got people laying with hands on side stage, all that kind of stuff. And so I this was still back when you could kind of walk around concerts and find your way. So I found my way, rather than being on the 15th, 25th row, wherever we bought our tickets, I found my way on the front row, right?
Yeah.
I found my way up there. And so I'm up there in the middle of all that, and I'm sitting next to someone who is a friend of the guitar player, Tommy Burns. And we just start talking, and I find out where the band's going to do their hang after the show. And so I'm like, see you, Mom. See you, Wendy. I'm going to this hotel where the band is. I'm going to try to meet some folks. And my mom, I mean, come on, right? My mom, in her mind, thought, my son is a musician who loves Billy Joel, and we're going to see Billy Joel. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a CD in my purse just in case he needs it. And so before I'm leaving, she goes, well, take this. And she hands me my CD, right, that she had the vision to bring. And I'm like, what? Okay. And I took it. And so we go, and here I am now at this hotel bar, and we're hanging out. And I see Crystal Taliaferro, who is Billy Joel's longtime utility player. I mean, she plays saxophone and percussionist, and I mean, you know, whatever that's needed in the band. Fabulous singer. I mean, talent, just so awesome and wonderful. And so she's sitting there at the bar, and I go sit down beside her. I start talking to her, and you're going to see how cool this is. Here she is. I mean, you know, she just finished the big show. She's a superstar, really. I mean, she's on the road with Billy Joel. She's played with every big act there is. And here's this kid coming up to her, and I start talking, and I say, well, I have a CD, and I don't even know what I was asking. And you know what she does? She gets up from the bar. She goes up to her hotel room, comes back down with a Walkman, Sony Walkman, whatever. And she opens the CD and listens to it right there in the bar. And she's like, I hear some potential. I see some things. And I say, well, I'm looking for a producer. And she goes, well, let's talk. And I mean, I was floored, man. I was like, whoa. Yeah. So that introduction, well, then from that, I mean, this is whole layer, the whole thing. But then you fast forward. I go. She was in Nashville. I go out to Nashville, and I do a few tracks with her.
Oh wow!
I let her produce. We become friends, and she produces some stuff. And then again, Billy's. I don't know how many years later. A couple of years later, Billy's back in Dallas again. So this time now, I'm there with some backstage passes.
Yeah, you're doing the thing.
Yeah, man. So now I'm doing the thing. And that's where she just says, "Hey, by the way, they're looking for a piano man. They're doing a national tour, and do you want to audition?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." Now, before that, we already knew that the show had already been out. The show came out on Broadway, right. And it had already been out.
That's Moving Out. That just for the listeners.
Yeah, Moving Out. Yeah, Moving Out. Sorry, yeah, Moving Out. Twyla Tharp, Billy Joel.
Just really quickly, just to give me and the listeners a little background on it, is this one of those shows that's an original story that has all of the music of Billy Joel, or is it like Billy Joel's life story or something?
It's a story that is cobbled together through Billy Joel songs.
Okay.
Billy Joel would write, he writes, his songs have characters in them. Brenda and Eddie.
Yeah.
Anthony works at the grocery store, whatever. So they put together a story.
Oh, okay, cool.
That flows with those songs that kind of talk about the time before and after the Vietnam War.
Okay. And is Piano Man the character that you went out for and eventually got, is that the main character?
Well, what it is okay. So if you can imagine this, those that are listening, you have a stage, regular old stage, like any stage that you would see, and those are the dancers, and the dancers are they're the chorus, right? Just dancers, and then there's certain dancers that are the characters. There's a Brenda, there's an Eddie, there's a James, there's a Tony, right? And so you as an audience member, you learn who those are. You get to see who those are. 10, 15, whatever feet above the stage is the bandstand, 10-piece band and 10-piece rock band, right? Piano, bass, drums, guitar, 3-piece horn section, auxiliary keys. And in the center of that stage is the guy that is Billy Joel. Now you're not dressed up like Billy Joel. You're not trying to look like Billy Joel. You're not trying to sound like Billy Joel. You're trying to capture the essence of Billy Joel. And your voice is the only voice the audience hears the entire night. There's no talking. I mean, there's a few little things but they're not, it's not dialogue. There's a few things that are said,
cool.
but it's all music. It starts off with Still Rock and Roll to Me. And then it tells the story, just blah, 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 blah. It's just singing, song, all songs. So when you say you play the role of piano man, you don't have any dialogue. There's no lines. You're just singing the tunes.
Yeah.
So they, the audition process, they auditioned all over the country. And my first audition was in Houston, and they set up video camera and we auditioned. That was in the spring. That's probably around April.
What'd you do for the audition?
They wanted you to learn the intro to Summer Highlands Falls. Should have set up my keyboard. I'd show you the intro to Summer Highlands Falls, and there's a middle solo section. And scenes from Italian Restaurant, a fast piano thing, and then you had to do the intro to Angry Young Man.
Okay.
So that's what they wanted to see that you could do. And so there it is, video camera, do that. Okay, great. Don't hear anything. Months, 6 weeks go by, whatever. And then they say, we want you to come to New York and have another audition. Right. And so I'm trying to remember. Yeah. So this is where it was really whittled down. Okay. And one of my podcasts the last podcast that I just released was a guy named Matthew Friedman, who was also a piano man. He got the gig after me a few years later because, the show was still going and guys are moving in and out, whatever. But he was at this audition. Darren Holden, who was the other lead with me on the tour, he was at this audition. So this turned out to be, with lack of a better term, these were the heavy hitters. These were the guys that were really in contention for this. And there was, everybody that was making decisions about the show was at this audition, the second one that we found ourselves in New York. And wow, what an experience. I mean, that's a whole podcast and story on its own. But then after that, still, okay, great. And then good job. We'll let you know. And then a few months go by, but then they started saying, look, we want you to continue to work on it. We're getting there. And then they called, and Darren, at that point, Darren was clearly going to be someone that they were going to hire. So they were already working with him, and they were working him in the show on Broadway. And they would call me up and they say, and so around August, they said, we want you to come back and we want to see you again. And so I went back and I ran the show 2 more times for them. SR Studios rented a room, and there I am with the musical director of the show and Billy Joel's musical director, just playing and singing these songs out. And finally they said, you know what, Matt, you got it. And I was like, oh, man, I mean, life-changing, right? And then came home and prepared, and then my first show, my goodness, my first show was on Broadway.
No shit.
At Richard Rogers.
Wow.
Richard Rogers Theater, Christmas Eve, 2003. And I remember walking out after the show and seeing people trample on my face because my insert, you had the playbill, and I was the insert. Cameraman tonight, Matt Wilson. So it was strewn all over the New York streets. And, I mean, fairy tale stuff. I mean, just crazy, right? Crazy. And I remember one of the guys, one of the horn players, looked over at me right as the show, and it was like after the first number, and he was like, "Are you going to be okay, brother?" Because I mean, I must have been just solid ghost white. I mean, look, come on, before I left, my band was hosting at Pete's Piano Bar 3 nights a week down on 6th Street.
Yeah.
Literally, when I write in the book Barroom to Broadway, that's the truth.
Yeah.
Some of these other cats, they had some national TV background, they had other show background.
Right.
I'm not making excuses.
There was no trajectory you were on to end up in that position.
No. My stock was pumped right out of the, it's like, boom, we're here. Now we're vertical, made it.
So how long did you do that?
Moving out was still, 90, almost 2 years total. Yeah. But see,
so you toured with it, right?
Yeah. I was on the first national tour. The January of 94, we opened up in Detroit, and I left the tour in August of 95. And I say that when I left the tour, I was renting a home in Austin, had a girlfriend living in that home, and she was watching my 2 dogs. And when I got home, I didn't have a girlfriend, I didn't have a home, and my 2 dogs were living in a kennel in Baton Rouge or something like that. I mean, it was just, I was gone. I mean, I left.
Yeah.
I maybe came home twice while I was out on the road.
Jesus.
In that time. But it was great travel. We were flying and staying in hotel rooms, and it was.
How many shows a day? You have to do like a matinee and stuff?
8 shows a week.
Okay. That's not bad.
Two on Sunday, 2 on Saturday. And I, not only were you the piano man, but you were so there are 2 piano men. So me and Darren, and we'd switch. Darren did 4 leads. I did 3 leads a week. He was the lead.
What were your leads?
Meaning the role of piano man. So Darren did 4 shows as piano man. I did 3 shows as piano man. And then we weren't doing the piano man, we would move over to the keyboard chair.
Okay.
Which is like flying an airplane. I mean, 1 octave is oboe, and another octave is B3, and another octave is a whistle, and another is something else.
So you basically had to learn 2 whole shows differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, parts.
Yeah.
But that's pretty fun, though.
It was great. I mean, kept you busy, and that's how you do it when you run a show. I mean, you got a guy and play the piano. Why bring out a whole nother guy?
What did you
double up?
What did you think of that? Like what? Like of the Broadway version of what? You know what I mean? Like I don't have a lot of experience with it, but there's a different approach to like rock and roll people. There's a difference between the guy that's actually Elvis is like Elvising, but then the guy that plays Elvis on Broadway is like, I'm Elvis. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. It wasn't like this. And your buddy Darren may have a similar.
Well, Darren has the story of like when he first came back, I was like, so what's the show like? And he's like, well, it's weird, man. Cause there's like, I can't remember the exact song, but it was something as serious as like help. But there was like, help, I need somebody, help. Like this total, like right now I'm dancing Broadway style.
Yeah. No, that was, again, some of these comments and stories I'm telling Billy are maybe legend or they may be true. But I think what I remember was that Billy said, if you're going to do this, because Twyla Tharp had the idea and she called it Billy. And I think Billy said, if you're going to do this, then you have to represent my music properly.
Yeah, don't be smiling.
So really, the only thing that changed really were the tempos. We played them fast.
Oh, really?
I mean, we hustled through those tunes because you can't dance to tunes that are, it's hard to dance to Summer High Falls at the tempo it's in on the record. But if you speed it up,
right,
you can put some movement to it. So we did play the tempos fast, but the instrumentation was spot on with the record. They wanted it to sound, and they didn't ask us to sound like the singers to sound like Billy Joel. What they it was again capture the essence of Billy Joel.
Right.
I remember in the audition, we were seeing Singers from Tiny Restaurant, and I was so nervous that I couldn't get a full breath, and so my voice came out breathy. Bottle of white, bottle of red, it was that kind of thing. And Stuart Molina, the musical director, said after he stopped me. He goes, "You know what? That's good, but Billy doesn't sing breathy. He sings with power. He sings forcefully. You got to sing it." And so I was like, "Well, I'm trying here. I'm just kind of freaking out, right?" But collected myself and did fine. But no, we didn't. I know what you're talking about. We did not apply a Broadway style arrangement, music, instrumentation to the tunes. We were, the band was rock and roll guys. It was a rock and roll band in a Broadway show.
Yeah. So when you were done with that, you came back to Austin, and what'd you do? What happened?
Well, I should have taken a year off because I was a mess. I mean, I'd been gone. I had, as I say in the book, I had a lot of success, but I experienced some failure. My instrument was weird. My voice, I'd been singing the same 25 songs now for 2.5 years and nothing else. And I was just in a weird place, but I just jumped right back in. And I really thought that the Austin music scene was going to just say, dude, this guy was in Broadway, moving out. Let's roll out the carpet, right? And I really did. I thought that was going to be a big deal. And I looking back on it, it did get some attention, but I didn't slow down to put a product together that deserved attention.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I don't know if this is a good comparison or analogy is the way to say it. But like when Paul McCartney left the Beatles. Now, by the way, look, I'm not saying I'm Paul McCartney anyway. I'm just using the story. When Paul McCartney left the Beatles and then he did Wings, he goes, I want to get in the van. I want to start this band over. I want to go tour. I want us to be a real band and build this thing up. Now, of course, he's Paul McCartney, and that's not going to take too long, but he gave it the attention that was needed right out of the gate.
Yeah.
I got home and I was weird. I was acting weird. I wasn't in a good headspace. I didn't have a home, but here I am back. I'd been on the road. You know this, when you go on the road a long time and you come home, it's different, man. It's weird. It takes a second to onboard and get back into life. And so that's where I was. And I was just kind of winging it a lot. In fact, there's a funny story. I mean, that happened for a couple of years. And I remember I called Darren Murphy, and I called him up and I was like, hey man, you did the John Lennon thing. I did the Billy Joel thing. We should do something. I'm the Billy Joel guy from Broadway. You're the John Lennon guy. We should do something. And my band was playing at Sherlock's that night. And we just weren't good. We weren't rehearsed. We were just winging it the whole way. And he came to see it. And I saw him in the back of the room and he stayed for a few minutes. He left, and I don't blame him because it was bad,
Were you doing your stuff or were you doing Billy Joel?
We were just covering tunes. We were just, it was winging it. Look, I'm saying this now because I mean, it's been so long, but I just didn't put it together right. But I was persistent, and I was aware enough that I wasn't going to quit. I knew that I wanted to play music for a living. I knew that I just come from something so amazing. I knew that I had talent, and I just needed to eventually hone it and find a way. And so, ultimately, I did begin to polish the band, and I began to tighten up my piano bar shows, and start to really work on my playing and singing again. It was a whole other level. And I had a really great team. Mike Mordecai has been my manager the entire way, and he stood by me. And I had my business partner, Eddie Karam, and he stood by me. And we just continued to try and build and go. And we did.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wrote a song with Robin, Mike's son.
Yeah.
Like a month ago.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, he's, Robin's like a little brother to me. I've known him his whole life, it seems like, and he's really coming into his own. He played me some of the demos the other day, and blown away.
Yeah, man.
Excited for his future.
He also has a podcast. I was on it.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. He has a podcast, and we need Mike to get a podcast, and
Yeah. So with the band, now you guys mostly just play private events. There's a video of you guys. Are you playing? There's a video. God, which one was it? There was one, and it looked like it was at Main Street. No, what's the place in Fredericksburg?
Crossroads. Yeah.
Was that there?
Yes. We were out there. We were on that rotation of bands at Crossroads for about 10 years.
Wasn't Greg Williams was booking it?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember Skyrocket played out there a few times.
Right. So we played out there for about 10 years, and then over the last couple, year and a half, we haven't been back, but I'm sure we will at some point.
Did you? Yeah, there's a video of you dancing in the crowd, and there's what do you call it? Oh God, what's a bridal shower party?
Yeah,
bachelorette party. Dude, I've never seen, there's multiple bachelorette parties every time we played there.
Yeah.
And it's oddly packed in this weird way.
It's where they're going. They're going to the winery, and then it's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what we got was you try and give them a little special attention at the cover band show, right? Oh yeah, it's your thing. You're wearing a wiener around your neck, like a wiener pacifier or something. And all their friends are drinking out of wiener straws. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you try to give them some attention. There was one time where a fight almost broke out between two, no, we're the ones, it's our bridal. It's our bachelorette party, not yours, sister. Yeah. It got pretty intense.
It's like you can't have the same birthday either.
Yeah.
Not your birthday, it's my birthday. Right. Well, and you can't get people on stage there either, so it's hard to really single them out. But they pack them in there.
They do pack them in, man. That place, I never played there. It's just packed.
Right. And good. It's great. One of the challenges of not being in Texas with band is that the band wasn't working enough, and so at different times we just didn't have the same lineup to take in to the venue. So it just became better that we focus on some other things and some of the club gigs for a while. And of course, everything's reset. I mean, a lot of what I'm talking about now was pre 2020.
Right.
Now we're just waiting to see what the book is going to say.
Well, there's definitely coming out of this thing. I've noticed a thing, and I've talked about it with a lot of people. So excuse me, audience, if I'm talking about it with one more person, but it is interesting to get everyone's perspective, because there are those of us who have done this. Just like you said, you went on the tour for Moving Out. You came in, you just got right back on it and started playing again. So many of us have spent so much time. I've been playing. I'd never been off for more than 2 weeks until COVID. Since 1989. You know what I mean?
Right.
So people are coming back from this. Some people are coming back with the attitude of I'm doubling down. I'm never going to take another day off or take this for granted again. And then the other half of the people seem to be going well, shit, I got some perspective on this and I've been running myself ragged. Here we are all a bit older now. Is it worth, going to those gigs as opposed to some people want to work smarter and not harder?
My perspective on I understand that a lot of people in our industry lost a lot of work and suffered, and they needed to be on stage. And but there's nothing we could do about it. Knowing there was nothing we can do about it, I welcomed the time off. I'd been on stage. I mean, as we've talked about the history of Matt here, I'd been on stage for 20 plus years, and I don't want to say I didn't miss the stage. I did. But I was okay with not doing the shows. I was okay with the respite. I was okay with. I was working on hooks. I was working on the book. I was maybe writing some songs as they came along. But I didn't have the ultimate need or itch to be on stage entertaining folks at the time. And I think that as I even wrote this in the book, and it'd been going on for a few years, that just the ebb and flow of the music business, the ebb and flow and the changes in my life, becoming a father, becoming a husband, wanting to grow and do other things, feeling that, as a spiritual man, that I had a calling and a direction to do something else. I was looking at it as, well, here is a moment that has been thrust on us. So let's take this moment. I'm going to take this moment and I'm going to see how I can pursue some other things and maybe set myself up to come out a different person on the other end. Right. So, but I'll tell you what, when I did get back on stage with my band for the first time, which would have been on, we had a wedding on March 14th, 2020. And while I was traveling and setting up for the band and all that, my kids were being sent home from school in New Orleans, and you're hearing on the news that they're this and that. And it was, remember that movie? I forget, it was in the late 90s when they had all those disaster movies, and the father and the daughter are standing on the beach while the asteroid's about to hit the ocean.
The giant wave.
And the giant wave.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like. Yeah, that's what I felt like, that I was standing, doing that gig. I was standing on the beach waiting for this giant wave to hit us, because we all knew it was coming. I mean, it was so weird. One of our singers the gig was in Houston, and one of our singers in the band came in a little bit late, and she drove up and she told us, she goes, "Look, I don't feel good. I'm sweating and I feel weird." We literally had to send her home. I mean, she
had it.
Nobody knew. No, she didn't.
Right. Nobody knew. Right.
Said, "Thank you, but go home." And so now I'm singing her songs. I mean, it was just, so I get home as March 14th, get home on the 15th. I did not stand on stage again for a gig until December 19th, I believe, of that year.
Okay.
And as much as I enjoyed the time away of not being on stage, in perspective, I mean, again,
right,
I understand the perspective, but as much as I was using that time to do the other things, man, when we fired it up, I loved it. I mean, it's in me. I love doing it. I love entertaining. I love performing. So it's a good balance, I guess. Yeah. Or finding the balance is good, is what I'm saying.
Matt, did you ever meet Billy Joel?
Yes.
How's that?
I met him a few times. The coolest story was we were in Los Angeles playing at the Pantages Theater. Billy would come out to the big cities on the tour. So he came out to Boston, and he came out to Washington, D.C., and he came out to Los Angeles, right? And so Billy's there to do an interview with Entertainment Tonight before the show. And so they're backstage and they're talking all that. Well, the interview's over, and I see Billy walk into there was a little, we had him in these dressing rooms in the backstage of the theater, and one of them was the piano man's rehearsal room. It was this little bitty dressing room, and we had a keyboard in there, and Billy's just looking for a place to get away from everything and take a minute. So he walks in there. Well, I see him walk in there, and I know the room is the size of a closet, and I know there's a piano in there. So there's Billy Joel in a tiny room with a piano. I'm going in, right?
Yeah.
So his road manager was there at the door, and we knew each other. And I said, "Hey, can I go in?" He said, "Yeah, go in." So I go in, and there's me and Billy in this room with a keyboard, right? Well, other members of the Moving Out band saw me go in and saw Billy go in. So now they're in. So all of a sudden now we got a lot of the band, some of the dancers peeking through the door. We got a lot of people, a lot of things going on, but I'm at the front of this pack now. Now, let me just say this. There is video of this, or there was video of this somewhere, because there was a camera, a giant TV camera, a video camera from Entertainment Night filming this, probably gone. But here's what happened. So now it's like everybody's, Billy's like, "Oh man, Billy looks at this keyboard and goes, "Hey man, cool." And he switched it over to a Rhodes sound. Anytime I've seen him get on a little keyboard, he doesn't want to play piano. He wants it on the Rhodes. So he puts on Fender Rhodes. And he starts singing Ray Charles. "Hey mama, don't you treat me wrong." And he's like, "Hey," and everybody's doing the hey and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm like standing right there beside him, and I'm like, "Billy, take a solo." And I sit down on the piano bench beside him, I go to the lower end of the keyboard. I start playing the low end. I'm playing bass and a mid comp, and he goes up to the top end, the treble end, and starts playing a solo. And so now we're surfing, man.
Dude.
I'm doing, yeah. He's soloing. I'm playing the low end. They're filming. Everybody's clapping and singing. Yeah. So there were 3, 4, 5 moments like that I experienced with him. We had another in the dressing room, and we were all singing some Steve Winwood and Beatles tunes once, and yeah,
That's awesome, man.
it's cool. I mean, come on, right? I don't even know. I mean, that's just, and that's the thing is that I literally he was my musical hero growing up. I remember I had these giant Tinker toys. Now, remember Tinker toys?
I remember those. Yeah.
These were giant, like size of your head,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then the size of your body is the pole, and then
Yeah.
And so I set them up as a drum set. I built them as
Right.
a drum set and cranked the snot out of 52nd Street,
Yeah.
just banging, you baby, right, just going crazy. No,
Yeah, it's wrong album.
wrong album, but you know what I'm saying.
Sorry.
Yeah, Glass Houses.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that album.
Oh yeah,
That was the height of my Billy Joel thing. Was that
you may
album.
be right. It's probably my favorite tune of his. Just flat out rock and roll. I mean,
Yeah.
I could really get going, but that's if I just had to nail it down, that'd be it.
Dude, you want to hear a funny Billy Joel story? It's not Billy Joel, but it's a Billy Joel song story. Okay, so, and cover band, you'll understand this. So Skyrocket,
do it.
like more than 10 years ago, well, we got hired to play this wedding, and you know how you'll do the first dance, you'll learn the first dance for the people or whatever. And the father-daughter dance was Only the Good Die Young, which we just thought was so disturbing because that song is about this guy that's basically trying to talk this girl out of losing her virginity with him.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, it was that song was banned on radio.
It was?
Did you know that?
No.
Yes. Yeah, it was so out of line back then when it came out. It was blacklisted, I think.
Wow.
Banned.
Well, I mean, it was hard to believe that. You realize people don't really listen to lyrics. You know what
They're
I mean?
not paying.
Yeah, it's like when a couple's like, "Oh yeah, our song is Every Breath You Take," and you're like, "Well, that's a psychotic fucking song to have as your song." Yeah.
Stalker tune. Right. You left me, and go ahead.
So, dude, you've pivoted career-wise in a way, or you've opened up a new channel for yourself as an author, and as a podcaster, but with a focus and a purpose and kind of answering some bigger questions about how to be essentially the best person you can be, the best you can be on all levels.
Yeah. I like the word free. That word has different meanings for us in society, but the way I like to think of it is free. You're free of whatever it is that's in your mind that's preventing you from doing what it is that you want to do. So
Right.
if you want to sing and play the guitar like you would just by yourself at home, when that moment of inspiration hits you and you get goosebumps from what you're doing and you hear it and you're like, wow, and that's powerful. You are free right there. Well, there's a way to take that same freedom and put it on stage in front of people, or put it in the studio, or put it where it may be. And then you can go on and on to speakers and folks who give presentations. And but that's a big part of it. And then also just some common sense. The book also talks about just some things that I see as common sense of ways to manage your business or involve yourself in relationships. And then I talk a little bit about the creative process too.
Yeah. I like that the practice and the performance are separate skills stuff. I also got a lot out of the cooling down. I don't cool down.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
For those that
I feel
haven't,
like I don't have time to cool down.
Well, but you do.
Yeah. I know I do.
Think about it. When you come home from a gig, you don't walk in. People are always like, well, what, when I was younger, why get up? Why are you sleeping at noon? Well, I got home at 3 a.m. You don't go to bed at 7:30 when you walk in the door, or 6. You got to get home and you sit down, but where the cool down came from, because I was with you, you warm up, that makes sense. As I say in the book, it makes sense to warm up. We've all heard of that.
Right.
But the cool down, the reason I had to learn the importance of the cool down is, and I tell the story in the book, is because I developed some nodules on my voice, and I to heal that, I had to get speech therapy. And my speech therapist just said to me, no matter whatever you do to your voice during the show, don't leave it there. Cool down with these exercises and put your voice back in its optimal place.
Right.
And you will have a better voice for it for a long time.
Yeah.
So
is it feeling strong? Your voice?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
So the book is called Hooks: Lessons on Performance, Business, and Life from a Working Musician. Fantastic book. And
Thank you.
And the podcast is called On the Hook with Matt Wilson. You can find Matt Wilson at mattwilsonband.com. You also have a Patreon that you do as well. Yeah.
And that's Wilson Tunes. And I'm also working on really beefing up that mattwilsonband.com. This is all new territory for me. So anybody that goes to buy the book or listen to the podcast or just check out the website, I'm grateful for any and all of it. I really am.
Yeah, man. Also, your original album, Nobody's Driving Home Tonight.
Yeah.
From 2018.
That's one of the original songs.
Oh, sorry.
I have. No, that's fine. Matt Wilson Band is on Spotify and some other places, and then also the mattwilsonband.com. But I have a record that I have to release called Buckle that was recorded before I knew I was moving to New Orleans with the band. And it's kind of a country thing to it. And it's just been sitting on my. Actually, I was prepared to release it in March of 20. So I don't. I was telling my wife this the other day. I don't know who's listening or who's paying attention, but I've never been more inspired than I am right now in my life to share the message in Hooks, to share my creative thoughts. I'm very grateful for guys like you that give me an opportunity to talk about it. And I really believe in what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep doing it. And I think one day maybe some people will be there saying, Matt, thank you.
Yeah, man.
So,
yeah. Well, dude, it's great to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Great to have you on the show.
Oh, well, thank you. And let's stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely.
So, all right.
Yeah. Everyone go to mattwilsonband.com. You can get links to everything there. The book, the podcast, the music, the videos. It's pretty stout, man. That's a good, you got a good thing going on there at the mattwilsonband.com.
Meaningful. Thank you.
Great to meet you, man.
Good to meet you too. Have a great day out there.
You too, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Said it's such a shame. Well, all the same.
All right, that is Matt Wilson. What a great conversation that was. Fascinating dude, right? Man, that stage stuff is incredible. And this book is really good, man. You got to check it out. Hooks: Lessons on Performance, Business, and Life from a Working Musician. Available on Amazon and Apple Books. Also, check out his podcast, On the Hook with Matt Wilson. Find him at mattwilsonband.com. All right, guys, I hope you have a great weekend, whatever it is you're doing. Get out and check out Trucha Soul tonight here in Austin, or if you live in Houston, check them out tomorrow night, Saturday, July 31st at Wonky Power. Tonight, they're playing at Cuatro Gato here in Austin. And Sunday, August 1st, 4 to 9 at Tropicana in McAllen. Enjoy your weekend, okay? Hey, and don't forget, gang, when you're out there checking out all these bands and all this music and stuff, you can subscribe to this podcast wherever it is that you find podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Overcast, anywhere. New shows all the time. Usually Tuesdays and Fridays are the regular ones, but then we always add more, all right? Have a great weekend, whatever it is you're doing. I'll be thinking about you. Did I tell you guys I got a paddleboard? Should be coming in tomorrow. So Tuesday's show, I might be pretty excited about having paddleboarded. Have a great weekend. Let's get down.
'Cause we were seeing stars. Oh, who was coming over after closing bars? Yeah, and then it's such a shame. I said we're all the same. Go on and pass your keys. keep it